煮物、赤ウインナー、だし巻き卵、ハンバーグ、梅干し、そしてふりかけ。食べたいものをとにかく詰め込んだ、まるで子供の宝物入れのような自由さがかぐやの心を激しく打った。
Is this how high school actually is? I mean, I would love to actually know if... Well, I guess no one's really in school right now. And on a lighter note, we're just going to make some miso soup. To start off, we're going to use 4 cups of clean, cold water, followed by a ton of bonito flakes. When I mean a ton, really 2 to 3 full cups worth. You want a good amount of that. We're going to add in about a 4-inch piece of konbu, which is a seaweed, or you could also use hondashi crystals, which is going to give you some miso soup base. I mean, it's the same thing. Now to start off, we do want to bring this up to a very, very light simmer to basically have this come up to where you just see some bubbles start to form. And once you see that happens, turn it off and let this rest for about 10 minutes. After it's been rested, go ahead and strain out all of it. You want to make sure you do give this quite a press just because there is going to be a lot of liquid in that bonito. Now to finally make it a miso soup, we're going to be using some white miso bean paste. You can use any miso paste for this, but this is just what I have laying around. You want to use about 2 full tablespoons worth of this. Add your dashi back on top of this. Give this a good stir with some chopsticks or whatever you want, really. Bring this over a nice medium heat just until it starts bubbling again, and then turn it off and set it to the side until we need it for later. You don't have to do anything after this. Okay, I lied. There's a lot to do after this. First off, we're going to be making our tamagoyaki, and this is pretty common in a lot of bento boxes. We've made this quite a few times. For this, I'm going to be using about 8 eggs for this. It's quite a bit because my pan is so big. Give these a good whisk and make sure they're completely scrambled. That's super important. Season this with just a pinch of salt and about 1 tablespoon worth of mirin. You don't really need to put too much to season this. Give this another whisk and then finally strain it through a really fine mesh strainer. This is going to catch any potential shells or anything else and also make it really smooth. Now I am using a pretty big squared off tamagoyaki pan, but you can use whatever pan you want for this if you're just trying to make it. Go ahead and start making your tamagoyaki by cooking 1 layer of egg at a time. You want to keep these fairly thin, so that way you can constantly keep rolling this. This isn't the most pretty tamagoyaki, but it'll do the job. Let it rest in the pan for a few minutes until it gets nice and firm. Flip this onto your plate, and we're going to let this cool down to room temperature before we do anything with it. I just want you guys to know I have the best sous chefs on the planet. Look at that. Hi guys. Hi guys. Are you guys being good? Yeah? Okay, bye. Now we gotta include some vegetables for our bento because it won't be complete without it. We're gonna be using a little bit of snap peas, some carrots, and some broccoli for this. You can cut this however you like, but I like these little rondelle shapes because I think they look really good and they have a nice bite to them for the carrots. Now for the broccoli, all we're gonna be doing is cleaning up the stems a little bit. You don't really need to process these too much. We're gonna go ahead and steam these in whatever steamer you have. You can also honestly just microwave them with a little bit of water, it'll be fine. Place them into your favorite steamer and we're gonna steam these for about 3 minutes. You don't wanna go too long or you will end up overcooking them. After about 3 minutes, our vegetables are done cooking. Just give them a poke, make sure they're al dente. And then you notice that this wasn't the right steamer for this because this was meant for the rice steamer. And now we have a melted steamer. This is fine. This is fine. The vegetables came out great though, so we're gonna go ahead and cool these down on a plate. You wanna make sure you do cool these down pretty rapidly. You could use an ice bath for this, but I didn't feel it was super necessary, so we're just gonna pop these in a fridge. Now for the Hamburg steak, I'm using ground beef for this, and feel free to use chicken or beef or whatever the case is, but we're gonna be using about 1 pound of this, and this is gonna give us quite a bit. We're gonna season this with black pepper and then a little bit of a homemade teriyaki sauce. Alternatively, you can use 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, 1 teaspoon of sesame oil, and 1 teaspoon worth of mirin and sake. Now go ahead and make sure this is thoroughly combined. You want to combine this with your hands or spoon or whatever the case is just until you don't see any liquid left and everything is fully incorporated. Now we're going to actually shape these into 2-ounce meatballs. You don't have to weigh these out, just make sure they're a nice large size meatball, or you could use a scale. But after you get these nice and rolled out, just go ahead and place them on your plate. We're gonna get about 8 to 10 meatballs out of this. Alternatively, you can just make patties right away, but I like doing the meatball method, especially since, you can double fist them and it's kind of fun, and that sounded really, really bad. We're gonna keep that. Now in a nice medium-high heat cast iron greased pan, we're gonna smash these Hamburg steaks. This is why I did them into the meatballs, because I knew I was going to do a smashed style burger. Just go ahead and season these with just a little bit of salt, press them further with a spatula just so they get nice and crispy. Get oil all over the place, like everywhere. After 3 to 4 minutes, we are gonna flip these to get the other side nice and charred because I want that beautiful color and that beautiful caramelization on each side. And just check it out. Look at the splash zone. This is like back home at SeaWorld in San Diego. After 3 or 4 minutes on each side, place these onto the same plate with your eggs and yeah, protein plate. It is octopus hot dog time. And for this, I'm using some really nice all-natural chicken sausages that I found, but feel free to use just regular old hot dogs. That's gonna work just as well. We're gonna cut these in half and then we're gonna split the bottom into 8s. So start off first by cutting a small slit at the bottom in half, then turning it and cutting that in half, and then doing 2 more slits to get 8 little octopus, you know, little, look at them, the little fingers. You actually don't want to cut these too far up because now in your same cast iron pan, grease this up just a little bit, and over a medium heat, we're gonna start searing off our hot dogs. Now what's kind of cool is that as you start to sear these off, they are going to start to open up into that weird octopus looking hot dog. I add in a touch more oil just because my hot dogs don't have a ton of fat in them, but you can see them start to open up. Now to help this out, we're gonna add in a splash of water and then start steaming these to fully cook them. Once again, getting liquid and grease all over the place, and I'll have to clean this up again. After 3 or 4 minutes, we start to see everything open up into that really cool hot dog octopus looking shape, and then I realize that I cut them the wrong way and that the flat part is supposed to be on the other side, but it's okay. Now once all that liquid is completely evaporated, add this to your giant plate of protein, and now we have all of our proteins made for our bento box. This is crazy. How much protein do we actually need for this bento box? Now for the bento box itself. I have this really cool double-decker one, but we're only going to be using one half of it because that's what they had used in the anime. Now we are going to need just a little bit of iceberg lettuce, or really whatever kind of lettuce you have, just as a barrier to separate some of the ingredients within the bento box. We're also going to be using a little bit of fresh green onion for the miso soup, so go ahead and cut that up, not into super thin slices because it will disintegrate over time. Add this to your thermos of choice. I am using this hydro flask because that's really all I have, and we're going to add in just a little bit of seaweed as well. Now the green onion and the seaweed are totally optional, but I do very much recommend it. Now we're gonna add in some of our miso soup into the thermos. And Paul, what are you doing here, dude? There you go. Set it up, man, set it up. Add in all of the miso that you can into your thermos, give it a good wipe, and we're gonna go ahead and cap this thing off. Luckily, the hydro flask keeps this really, really hot for a while, so that's gonna be good to go. Now, he does mention that he uses cold leftover overnight rice, and that's what we have right here. This was actually made a few hours before filming, and I just kept it in the fridge to cool it down. Now we're gonna be filling up our bento box about halfway worth of rice, and this is pretty significant. This is a pretty big portion of rice, so feel free to put in however much you want, but we're gonna go with half for this. You wanna make sure it's packed in really well so it doesn't move around in the box itself. We are gonna top this off with 1 umeboshi or pickled plum. Feel free to use some pickled ginger or whatever the case is, just to have a little bit of acidity on there, you know, some of that good to help break down the rice. Place that right in the middle after removing the seed. Please don't leave the seed in there. And then we're gonna use a little bit of that lettuce as a barrier to start separating the layers. The first protein we're gonna start with is our tamagoyaki, or our egg. I sliced this into about 6 smaller slices, and I still had plenty of leftover. Go ahead and layer this in the back and quickly realize that 6 slices are not gonna fit in this thing. Add in a little bit of lettuce to separate the egg from the hamburger, and we're using 2 of our hamburg patties for this. Now we're gonna add in a little bit of our vegetables, and feel free again to place as much as you want in here, but my box is getting really crowded. So I'm going with 2 pieces of broccoli, 2 pieces of carrots, and only 2 of our snap peas because there's no way all of this is gonna fit. Now for our little octopus hot dogs, we're gonna place in 2 of those. It's supposed to be 4, but there's no way with my bento box. There's also supposed to get like little sesame eyes, but that's not gonna happen. We can't, there's no way. I don't know how they do that. Now we're gonna top off our hamburg steak with a little bit of ketchup, and I prefer this Portland ketchup because it's delicious and super good. There it is, our first bento box. And yes, first bento box, because I have no idea how Miyuki fit all of that into that bento box. So we're gonna bust out the big guy. Yes, I have another bento box that's a little bit bigger, so we're gonna try to use this one as well. Do the same thing, fill this guy up with your rice halfway, add in your pickled plum, add in your egg, then followed by your hamburg steak. I was actually able to fit in a little bit more into this. I was able to fit 6 slices of egg into this, but still only 2 of our hot dogs because, come on, there's just, I don't know how we did it. It's magic, okay? Throw in a little bit of your vegetables, followed by your ketchup on the hamburg steak, and now we have 2 bento boxes, one for the wife and one for me. I think it worked out pretty well here. Now we're gonna go ahead and cap these guys off, and I'm just gonna let them hang out until they get to like coldish room temperature again, because I mean, we should wait a couple of hours to eat these, right? And there's gonna be nothing more satisfying than a good old bento box after a few hours worth of yard work. Okay, so after some yard work and a great workout, I can finally have my lunch because I'm starving and there's nothing better than a nice lunch after all of that. So since this was super stuff, I actually had to tape this down. Don't worry, this is fine. There it is. Look at that. It looks awesome. I'm so hungry. My mouth, I'm seriously salivating. We also have our miso soup. Oh, it's still steaming. But remember, he puts the magic on it. And the magic is furikake. Now, they didn't say which type of furikake, so this one is yasai, which is vegetable furikake. You gotta have this on your rice. You just have to. Just like Kaguya says, this is basically a treasure box. And I'm gonna go for, oh, my octopus got smushed. I mean, it's a hot dog. What's not to love on that one? All the vegetables are still really crisp. Now I kind of want to go after this hamburger. Let's see. Just a good old, delicious, kind of teriyaki hamburger. And then we have our tamago. I mean, I've made this so many times. It's perfect. The magic does come in the form of the miso soup. Oh, I wish you guys could smell this. That miso flavor is still really nicely there. The green onions still have a little bit of bite to them, which is really nice. But cold rice normally isn't that great. But the kicker is you gotta jump in with some rice and then drink some miso and let it just, you know, have a little party in your mouth. Oh God. Yeah, that's good. Oh, that's really good. I'm about to get real intimate with this thing. Just like you should get intimate with my Patreon. Check out the links below if you want to support the channel directly and get a whole bunch of really cool extra goodies. Let me know if you've ever made bentos before and how you like them, hot or cold. My name is CHEFPK, bringing anime and video game food to life. Get subscribed and remember, keep playing with your food. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have business.
When I speak all cap with the speech till they caught up in the rapture. I'm so out of line with the phrase game. Let's take a break, been a long day. Hit your line, what you fall through with the light sticks. Maybe help me spark the ideas.